Hello YouTube, Chris the Frugal Audiophile with you again today for another video, and I got Angel here. She's gonna help me out, I'm sure, aren't you, kitty? She's just wondering what I'm doing. So today I want to talk about, bye Angel, the Belkin SoundForm Connect AirPlay 2 receiver. Now this is a device that I picked up a few months ago, and I have been using it almost every day. And so I thought that I would just take some time, now that I've had some experience with the device, to review it for you to decide if it's something you think you would like to purchase and use in your home. So let's start off with design. And you see I have it right here on this stand because this is a tiny little device. I'm gonna have to get some close-up B-roll shots of this because it is just so small. And on there you see the back I have some sticky tack because I actually use this in my bathroom, and I stick it on the back of my toilet. Well, I try to. It's having issues staying on there, but that's my attempt at least. So anyway, that's the back of the device. And you have the front. The sides are nice and rounded off, but it is really a tiny, simple little plastic box. So the specs say that this thing is about 2.44 inches long by 1.71 inches high by 0.75 inches thick. That would be this direction here. And I think it's even smaller than that. I think they're being generous there on the dimensions for this device. It is tiny, it is lightweight, it's only a few ounces. It does feel a little bit inexpensive, but that's what you get. I mean, nothing you can really do about it. It is what it is, and we're going to talk about cost and value in just a moment here. But that's basically an overview of the device. It currently costs about $80, $79.99 on Amazon, on B&H, on Crutchfield. So it's about $80, which I think is a tad high for it. I actually picked mine up for $70 used a few months ago when it was still retailing for, I think, $100. That's what it started out at, which is pretty high. That's a little ridiculous, I would say, but it is what it is. That's just a basic overview of the design of the device and its cost. It's really a simple design, and there is a USB-C power adapter and cord included in the box. I believe that was all that was included with it. Just the device and the power adapter. Pretty straightforward, but that's what it is. And I would say overall, the design of this device is functional yet boring. There's nothing really unique about it, nothing substantial. It doesn't have any metal in it really, except what, the internals, the electronics inside of it. It's just kind of a little black box that does its job, and that's really all there is to it. So now let's talk about its features. Now this is an AirPlay 2 receiver and an AirPlay 2 receiver only. It doesn't work with Spotify Connect, with Roon, with Bluetooth, with any of those type of things. This is solely for an Apple home where you have an iPhone, an iPad, or a Mac. Maybe an older iPod Touch would work with it, or the latest generation. I think it does. You have to have iOS 11 or later for it to work. So if an iPod Touch can do that, then it will work with this device too. AirPlay 2 is backwards compatible, but there are some issues there. I'm going to talk about that later on too. But yes, it will work if your device only supports AirPlay 1, but you really want to use AirPlay 2 with this device for the best results. And it has a 3.5 millimeter analog output, a standard headphone jack, you would say. And then it also has an optical audio output for connecting to an external DAC, which is how I use it in my setup. I have it connected to an SMSL, I believe it's an S100, and then that is connected to an SMSL A100. I'll put pictures up here for you to peek at, but that's the amp and the DAC that I'm using with this device through that optical output. Works perfect. I haven't had any issues with that portion of the setup, and I think that the optical output is the way to go. Some have mentioned that there is some volume issues with the analog output. I didn't really notice that when I used it, but I connected it to a fairly powerful amp there in my home theater room, and so it was able to play the audio plenty loud, but I was not thrilled with the sound quality, and so I think that optical is the way to go. You can use your own DAC. This little device is going to have a very inexpensive DAC in it because there's only so much space in there, and typically these types of devices use fairly inexpensive DACs. If the device itself costs $80 and you connect it to an $80 DAC, well, I would assume that that DAC would be better than what's built into this device because it has to have its other electronics along with that DAC. Maybe not, but that's just the assumption that I have. And also, I noticed the sound quality using my own DAC versus using its built-in DAC. So this device can do up to CD quality. That is 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz. So that is CD quality. Now, Apple Music can support beyond CD quality in their high-res section. I think they can go up to 192 kilohertz. So it can get higher quality. Are you going to be able to hear that well? It depends on how resolving your system is and how well recorded the actual audio is that you are listening to. And I think that audio recording quality has more to do with it than the actual specs of the DAC, but you're going to need that good quality to be able to hear that. Anyway, for my uses, that was more than enough. It is higher quality than Bluetooth. Just keep that in mind. It is not just a standard AAC or MP3 file. It is higher quality than that, but it taps out at 16-bit, and some are looking for a device that does more than just CD quality. If that's you, then this device is not for you. But perhaps maybe you have a place where you could use the device where you don't need that much quality, and that's probably a good application for it. And the final feature of this device is a 2-year warranty, which is actually quite good, and that comes from the manufacturer. So that's fairly impressive, and I'm glad to see that. But there are not a whole lot of features listed on the internet to be found for this device. I tried to look up the features and the specs, and pretty much what I gave you is what's available, not a lot else, which is a little bit frustrating, but often happens with devices of this nature. I was actually hoping to find the DAC chip that they use in this. I could not find it anywhere. I Googled it, and I could not find it. If you know what it is or been able to find it, please post down in the comments below. I would love to hear what DAC chip it is, but it doesn't really matter to me because, like I said, I'm using the optical output in that external DAC. So let's talk about the SoundForm Connect's assignment, and that is to be easy to set up, reliable, and yet still sound decent. So how to do with that assignment? Well, first, what it gets right is sound quality. It's not the epitome of, high-end sound that's going to rival a $3,000 piece of audio equipment. Of course not. But for what it's doing and for its price, I think it sounds really good. And when you add it on your own DAC, that just improves the sound quality even more. That also raises the price, of course. But that's okay because a lot of us, we want to be able to add our own electronic equipment onto a device, our own DACs, our own amplifications, what have you. And so that's kind of a nice feature. You could hook this up to a $3,000 DAC, say something from like Denafraps or one of those more high-end manufacturers. And I think you would notice the sound quality improvement there. Now, of course, it's only going to go up to CD quality, that's 16-bit 44.1, but still, you would probably notice an uptick in sound quality. Do I recommend doing that? That's up to you. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own preferences. As far as I am concerned, and the place in which I am using it, the application in which I am using this device, I think it sounds great. I think it actually sounds better than the AirPlay 2 receiver that's built into my Denon AVR X3400. To me, that one sounds just a bit harsh. Now that could be the DAC inside that receiver. It's difficult to say. It doesn't sound harsh with movies and television. So the AirPlay audio coming out of that, it's not the best. It's okay, but I think this guy sounds better being used in my bathroom. So that's just something, to keep in mind there. There may be those who are going to be more critical of its sound. I have seen a couple of reviews say that, but I think it's quite good, especially connected to, and actually I think it's an M100, yes, connected to my M100. So sound quality is the first area in which it gets right. The second one is reliability. So before I got the Belkin SoundForm here, I was using a 3rd generation Apple TV. That was the first one that was like the smaller black box that they had with the metal remote. And it was a nice little Apple TV, but it's getting a little long in the tooth. I believe it was released about 10 years ago. And the main issue with that device is that it is not AirPlay 2. And I was having reliability issues on my AirPlay system. I was having issues with audio just cutting out in my various AirPlay devices throughout the house, whether it was my Apple TV 4K in the bedroom, or it was my AV receiver there in the home theater, or it was the Apple TV 3rd generation in my bedroom. They were all having issues. And I discovered it was because I was mixing AirPlay 1 and AirPlay 2 devices. And as soon as I got this guy and I connected it to my network and I got it set up, which we'll talk about in just a little bit, I got it set up and working, I've not had any issues with all of my AirPlay 2 devices. Now, some of my older AirPlay 1 devices still do have issues, and so I am gradually getting rid of those. But as far as the Belkin is concerned, no issues. It just works, it does its job, and it works flawlessly. So it is a very reliable device. So that's what it gets right. As far as what it gets wrong, the first one is going to be a very buggy setup process. So I got this device out and I noticed that it was already set up. It had the light was giving that pattern indicating it's already set up. So I had to get a pin out and reset it. That was a pain in the butt. And then I tried to just directly connect it through the Apple Home app, which it said you can do. So I went in and I did that, and it wouldn't show up. It said, place your phone right next to the device, and it'll show up and ask you to connect it. It did not do that. I tried several times after having reset both the device and my phone, and it just wouldn't find it. So then I tried the second process that it recommends, and that is to first go into the SoundForm Connect app from Belkin, add it there, and then go to your home app on your iPhone. So that's what I did. I got that app, and it took a couple of times on that app actually to get the app to find the device. Finally, it did. I was forgetting the step of going to its Wi-Fi. So first you attach to the SoundForm's Wi-Fi, and then you go into the app, you find the device, you set it up, you attach it to your own Wi-Fi, and then it's connected, and then you are good to go to add it in the home app. Or you're supposed to be, because it still wouldn't show up. And I had to refresh that app a couple of times for it finally to show up, and I got it set up, I got it renamed, which is a nice feature that it has, so that I can rename it as bathroom and know exactly what device is and where it's playing. And so that was great, but boy, that setup process was very buggy. It's Belkin, you gotta work on that. I don't know if there's a firmware update that you can offer, and I am not the only one who has said this, because I've read several reviews saying that it was a very buggy process. So another thing it gets wrong is it's a bit expensive for what it does. Originally, this device was $100, and that was way overpriced. And I think Belkin knew that, because a couple of months later, they actually dropped the price to $79, which it is now, or $80, $79.99, which it currently is. And so even then, there are less expensive AirPlay receivers, but they are not AirPlay 2. One of the first ones I ever purchased was like $20, but it was buggy. So maybe there is a reason why this one costs a little bit more than it does. So I didn't take off a lot of points for that, because all in all, it's a high quality device, and you're going to pay for a high quality device. So what Frugality grade am I going to give to the Belkin SoundForm Connect? And this device is going to get a very solid B. If Belkin would fix that setup process, it would probably get a B+ and maybe even an A. But because of that, and because the design is just kind of functional and a little bit boring, and the price is a bit high considering these things, it's still going to get a B. Now, it works great for what I do, and it's way better than what I had in there before with that old Apple TV, but there is still room for improvement. that's part of the grading process as I go through this is, could it do better? And yes, this one could do better. You know, when a teacher is grading someone's assignment, they look at it and they say, hey, could this student have done better? And this student could have done better. So therefore, it's going to get a B, which is still way above a passing grade, still a very high grade, still a 3.0. But there's a few things that it struggled with, and so that's why it gets that B grade. So what is my recommendation for the Belkin SoundForm Connect? And that is, if you are looking for an AirPlay receiver and you don't need amplification built into that receiver, because there are several out there on the market. There are AV receivers that have AirPlay 2 built in. Of course, they cost a lot more, and they are going to have like all the other features and amplification built into it. And say you already have a speaker system, an amplification system set up, and all you want is to add AirPlay 2 functionality to that system. This is one of your only options. I mean, I looked all through Google and Amazon. This is all I could find outside of a few niche devices, as well as like Denon and Marantz and some of those receivers that have it built into them. But this is one of your only options. I think that's why the price is what it is, because Belkin knows they can charge that when they're one of the only options on the market. If we get some more AirPlay receivers that are similar to this product, the price may go down. But right now, it is one of the only ones that has AirPlay 2 that is not built into a stereo or a home theater receiver. So that's what you need. It's really your only option, but it is a good option. I mean, it sounds good. It's reliable. It does what it says it's going to do. It's just that setup process, though. And if you are put off by the price tag, you don't really have a whole lot of other options. So, you know, it's kind of your only choice, unless you want to get an amplifier with AirPlay built into it. You could go ahead and do that, but it's going to be a lot more expensive than this device. Otherwise, you're just going to have to wait until something else comes on the market to compete, or they lower the price of the SoundForm Connect. So do you own the Belkin SoundForm Connect? What do you think of it? Do you agree or disagree with my review? And do you know of any similar AirPlay 2 receiver devices on the market that I may have overlooked? I thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate your time. My channel is really starting to take off here, and so I know that's because of viewers like you, and I really do appreciate that. Stay tuned for a channel update and a contest coming up here in the next week or so. I will be posting that video. If you like this kind of content, be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe. And remember, frugal doesn't necessarily mean cheap. And this device is certainly an example of that. Thanks for watching.